In this video, we talk about whether Tommy Fury will lose the same way that Tyron Woodley did against Jake Paul. Obviously, Tommy Fury was the fight that was supposed to happen. We weren't supposed to get Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley too. We were supposed to get Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury. And that fight would have been super interesting to see how that would have turned out. But it's gonna be interesting to see that now that we've seen Jake load Tyron Woodley up with that huge right hand. It's gonna be interesting to see if Tommy Fury will have to suffer the same fate as Tyron Woodley just did. What do you think?
Yeah, at this point, I don't know if this fight's ever gonna happen, but
I think
if
it
it
will.
did, I think it would be even more hype than it was when it was first
Yeah,
announced
yeah,
for
for
sure,
sure.
especially with the hype of the knockout. But gee, I don't know. I
I
don't know
think
what
Jake's
Tommy
momentum
would.
now.
Yeah, I don't see how Tommy can hurt Jake. I don't know. Oh, it's hard to say where his skills are at, especially since who he's fought. He hasn't fought the best of guys,
Yeah.
and it's hard to match his skills. But from what we've seen, I don't know. I don't see really how Tommy can hurt Jake or win rounds against Jake.
Yeah, especially considering Woodley landed in some nice shots and wasn't really able to hurt Jake besides that time in the first fight where obviously he was stumbling on the ropes and was rocked. But Jake is tough, and we saw him endure cuts, and we saw him face a lot of adversity already in these last two fights. So and we've never seen anything from Tommy, but 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 Jake didn't look specifically like an amazing boxer in that Woodley fight. He was probably he was losing a couple of rounds. He wasn't doing the best. He wasn't his best performance. He could have been down. He could have been up. Depends who you're asking. But I mean, yeah, Jake did what he had to do. Obviously, finished Woodley with a devastating shot. So we haven't seen Tommy Fury do the same. His last opponent was nowhere near the level of Tyron Woodley. Obviously, he's a Bellator wrestler and wasn't really a notable guy. Definitely didn't have anywhere near the power
Yeah, definitely
of
not.
Tyron Woodley. And he was tiny. He was like 5'6", 160 pounds. And Tommy Fury couldn't get him out of there in 4 rounds. Couldn't even knock him down or really laid on him. So that was a really disappointing performance. And I'm pretty sure that the last guy he fought just
Yeah,
lost on that
or
Jake
yeah,
Paul card.
the guy who Tommy Fury just fought lost on the Jake Paul fight.
In my
Oh
opinion,
my
that
god.
even that makes Tommy Fury's win look
Yeah,
even worse now.
he
Like,
lost to like one of Nate Diaz's teammates.
yeah,
But yeah, that's
I
not
mean,
looking good for Tommy, man.
it's not a good look there for
I
Tommy.
doubt even Jake gives him another opportunity at this point.
I think he will. I think he
Yeah,
will. Because
maybe.
that's really like the only real option for Jake. Because who's he gonna fight? A guy in the UFC?
True.
Dana's not gonna let that happen.
Yeah, true.
You know,
I guess
he
if there's
doesn't really
nowhere to
have many
go.
options besides really Tommy. I could see that happening maybe in the summer, late next year, obviously, because Tommy's coming off that injury, and Jake obviously he said he wants to take a break. He says this every fight, but
Yeah,
who knows? Maybe he's gonna maybe he's actually gonna do it this time.
yeah, who knows?
But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see if that fight will happen. I think Tommy Fury versus Jake Paul is next because it just makes the most sense. I don't Jake's not gonna fight someone in the UFC. Obviously, he's not gonna go backwards and fight an athlete that's not a fighter. I don't think. So yeah, I think Tommy Fury is the most logical next step, especially considering the Fury name and how much bigger that will be now that Jake Paul has that knockout and how the storyline of how Tommy Fury pulled out and his injury. So, yeah, I mean, we're gonna see if Jake can knock Tommy Fury's spark out like Tommy's been wanting, or Tommy's been saying that he's gonna do to Jake. I mean, considering Jake Paul's, he's proving time and time again that he has that knockout power. Ben Askren, Nate Robinson, Tyron Woodley, obviously, all these guys were hitting the canvas at least once in their fights. So, yeah, I mean, Jake has knockout power. Does Tommy?
I
We
guess
don't
we'll
really
see.
know. It's kind of dodgy. His opponents haven't been the greatest, so
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
really
we
hard to
haven't really
say.
seen him knock
And
anyone's spark out, so I don't see
yeah,
him knocking Jake especially.
besides like a 10 and 100 guy. I
Yeah,
think I
but
think he was
that
able
you
to
can't
I think he
even.
was able to get that plumber out of there.
Yeah, but you can't even compare it or like at all. It's really a can to like a MMA champ.
I think on paper, Tommy Fury is still a step up for Jake just because of him
Yeah, I
being
would
7
say
and
so,
0
especially the
and Jake
team he
being
has
5 and
around
0.
him with
Yeah, and now
Twisted Fury.
Woodley's 0 and 2
Yeah,
technically
oh,
in boxing.
and especially
But
when I
but I
saw
mean
it, it's so
obviously
funny.
but it's hard to say that it's hard to see Tommy Fury being a harder fight than Tyron Woodley, especially considering the experience of Tyron, how much he's done,
Yeah,
how much he's been
Tyron
in.
definitely poses more of a
And if
threat than
Jake
Tommy.
and if Jake can knock Woodley out of there and get him out of there, and he looked sharper in that fight to be fair to him. he had better technique. His footwork was definitely smoother, and I don't know, he just looked more like a solid boxer. His defense was sharp. Obviously, he's not perfect.
Yeah, he
He's
still has
he's still
much
at
more
an
room
amateur
to
level,
improve, but
and
he looks
a
better.
lot of room to grow. But compared to that last fight, he wasn't as sloppy. He didn't look like he had as much gaps. But Woodley was still had a better game plan considering that he was at least throwing more. But still, it was a pretty boring
Yeah,
fight. They
like
were just clinching the
I
entire time.
I'd say well definitely
There's a lot of clinch
Woodley's
work.
a much more of a threat than Tommy,
Yeah,
definitely.
especially
Because
power
we don't
wise.
even know if Tommy has any power. He says he's gonna knock everyone out, but we haven't seen him knock really anything out.
I don't think he's only knocked
Other,
anything out besides his rib cage, but
yeah, yeah.
Tommy fumbles, but we're gonna see if he can bounce back, if he can come into this Jake Paul match, maybe prove us wrong. I mean, I definitely think that Tyron Woodley is more of a threat than Tommy would be, but maybe I'm wrong.
I don't see
Maybe
Jake
Tommy
being
would
scared of Tommy's
Maybe Tommy
power.
would outbox Jake to oblivion. Who knows? I mean,
Yeah.
Tommy Fury has that experience of being a boxer growing up, but at the same time, he doesn't have that experience being under the lights. He doesn't have that experience of being hurt. He doesn't have that experience of actually going through adversity or going through anything in fights.
At least we all know that they both have experience being on TV shows, so I guess we'll see how that
There we
matches
go.
up for them.
There we go. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. This clip is taken directly from our Punch Plan podcast, which you can check right now on your screen. And don't forget, be sure to like and subscribe and check out our other videos if you enjoyed.